Everybody, guess who's here? Me, Zazzy. I know it's been a minute. Let me tell you, it's life has been lifing, but I guess what? I have never stopped reading. So I want you to join me on this book discussion, okay? On this book discussion, it's called The Little Book of Big Lies. I don't know if you remember this lady. You guys are familiar with Queen Sugar. She wrote this book. This book is really good. I have been listening to this book a couple of years ago. I got the Audible, well, probably more than a couple of years ago, because I think this book has been out since at least during COVID. This book came out, and it came out in 2013 originally. Okay, I wasn't reading in 2013. However, this is definitely a book to get. We're going to be discussing this live, but also my book club does it. So on Sundays, we will be discussing this book live. So some of the contents, the topics is called the 11 questions for unpacking the lies that make you feel sad or small. So the first question is, are you thinking that some pain lasts forever? Another question is, are you living life thinking something is wrong or against you? Okay. The third question is, are you bullied by an old sacred torture? All right. So we're going to be getting into these questions, these lies that we tell ourselves. I like this book. If you're familiar with Sigmund Freud, she talks about the different types of self. And she refers to that self. Let me go into the introduction. For those of you all that know about this book or that can get the book, let me give you a little snippet of what I really enjoyed thus far about it. So she talks about this journey to self, and she was asleep, and so she had this vision of walking down the beach and saw this person talking to another person. One person was facing the water, and the other person was yelling and arguing with the other person that was facing the water. So the person facing the water was really, really calm, and the other person was waving their hands and just all over the place, right? So she realized that that was an image of herself. So she talked about three different types of self. And so there is the surviving self, the thriving self, and then the intimate self. The infinite self. Okay, so the surviving self, she describes, that's the person that is tends to skip over good things, searching for problems or an issue that could potentially become a problem, right? They see the image in the mirror of flesh and bones, and therefore they're constantly having fear of its own safety. She talks about the thriving self. The thriving self gives us the ability to hope, to dream, to make new choices, and to see ourselves as connecting to something more powerful than our anxious thoughts. Right. And then the thriving self. Okay, I'm sorry. Then the another thing about the thriving self is this self can observe and create distance between the self and the events that take place in our lives. So this self can be in difficult circumstances not feel defined as or limited by them. So if you know, and she related this the thriving self to Gandhi, Jesus, Martin Luther King. I don't know about Jesus, but Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. So these are people that believe that there was something bigger than them, that they were thriving for things that they were doing to help other people. Okay, so maybe that's why she said Jesus. Okay. So, and then she says the infinite self is the self that exists since the beginning of time, like old clay, self that morphs into endless forms without its essence ever changing. So I see this self as your divine self. It's the part of you that, so if you followed me when I was reading the book, what's it, the armor of God, how Priscilla Shire talks about us being, we're here but we're also seated in heavenly places. So I see the infinite self as a part of your spiritual self, the self that God knew. How in the Bible says, I knew you before you were formed. So when you were formed, God knew you. So that's the self that God knew. And he placed, so when you die and go on, that spiritual part of you that continues to live, I see that as the infinite self. Okay. So she said the infinite self is the essence of life that dwells in all of us and in everything. Okay. So that is the infinite self is us. I'm sorry, the infinite self in us is not at war with life because it is life. All right. So the infinite self to recognize where I'm operating from fear instead of aiming to see every situation in life as an opportunity to grow and to expand into more than who I am. All right. And she also says, and to have fun in this process, even though those moments when life might drop me to my knees. So you see that even though I'm at my knees, I'm seated in heavenly places. So I'm going to get beyond where I am right now. So, okay, you all, get into this. The Little Book of Big Lies by Tina Lifford. Get this book. I'm going to drop it in my showcase. Be a part of the discussion on probably Fridays. Maybe not Fridays. I'm sorry. On Sundays, Sunday nights at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So join me Sunday nights Eastern Standard Time. Everybody, everybody.